Hey, hey, hey. Hey. I think we're live now. Let me just double check. Um, yes, we are live. We are live. All right, so hi, everybody. Welcome to Untriggered Mama Huddle Live. Okay, if you're not untriggered mama, if you're not a triggered mama, if you're not a mama, you shouldn't be watching this, okay? I'm joking. You can. It's on my profile. It's for everyone to see. Okay. All right. So welcome to our usual scheduled live. I usually do this on YouTube, but I'm moving over to Facebook. Interesting. Right. So welcome to the Untriggered Mama Huddle Live, and today we are going to, well, I am going to share with you the game-changing moment, the thing that happened that changed everything for me. And this might seem like really, really simple. It might seem really, really like, oh, really, Nick, like, but it might just be very like profound for some people as well. And I'm telling you, at the time, I didn't think much of it. And it's not until on reflection that this is how important reflection is, and that's why it's so important to write things down, because the brain doesn't remember everything, but pencil and paper does. Okay, so I'm just gonna pray. I'm gonna pray in a minute. Like, if you are overwhelmed, if you are filled with guilt or dread and fear and those words, if you have any of those kind of feelings like self-doubt and stuff like that as a mum, especially when you're working and you are pursuing like a career and you're pursuing trying like you're pursuing motherhood, and you are feeling less than, you're feeling like you're not accomplishing it, let me just tell you that there is more to you. Like, you can do this, and it's so doable and it's so achievable, and it's not as hard as you think. It's not actually as hard as you think, right? So I'm just going to share with you, I'm going to pray and I'm going to share with you a few things that God did. And yeah. All right, so let's pray. Father in heaven, just want to say thank you for this opportunity again. I thank you that I'm able to share part of my story, part of my testimony. Father, just help me to be me, authentically me, as I usually am. But I pray that this message will be heard by the people that need to hear it. Father, whoever needs to hear it, if they're live, they're on the replay, we give thanks. If somebody else wants to share it, Lord, help them to help this message to reach the ears, the hearts, the eyes that need to hear. Just, Lord, have your way. This is your time. This is your thing. Shine, King of Kings. In your name we pray. Amen. Right, cool. So, many of you know, my name is Nicole. I am a trigger management coach for high achieving mums, high achieving career mums. When I say that, I feel like I need to qualify it sometimes, because people are like, oh, high achieving. Oh, I'm not a high achieving mum. I'm just a mum. I'm a stay at home. Listen, you're not just a mum. High achieving mums are mums that they can be working. They're working inside the home. They're working outside the home, but they've got high expectations. Very, very high expectations, right? Career mum, they're working in ministry, they are entrepreneurs, they are business owners, they are doing lots of different things like climbing this corporate ladder or whatever it might be. High achieving career mum, yeah. And then the mother side, obviously, you are looking after children, you are nurturing children, you are doing that. You could also be a wife and just be doing lots of things. So you're a high achieving career mum, right? But you struggle with overwhelm, self doubt, mom guilt, fear, procrastination, all of these kind of things, like negative thought cycles. So I work with mums that have all those kind of experiences, all those kind of feelings, and I help shift them into a place where they are confident career mums. Like, they can do this thing with unwavering confidence, right? And so, and I try, and yeah, I don't try. This is what we do. This is what I do, and this is people have been asking me for a long time, like, what happened, and what. Even though it's a very strange thing, because let me give you a part of my story. So I struggled with postnatal depression, although I didn't know that I had it, and And everyone else would say that I was doing so well. Oh, you're Nick, you're doing amazing, you're doing a wonderful job. I don't know how you do it, all that kind of stuff. But inside, I'm feeling like I'm broken. And I even expressed it to some people, and wouldn't, they just wouldn't agree. They just wouldn't accept what I'm saying. Like, I feel broken inside. I really don't feel what you're saying. Oh, you look great. Me, I don't feel like that. And they would kind of poo-poo what I'm saying. I don't know what else to say, but they would reject what I'm saying because I looked okay. So people, let me tell you, check on your friends, right? And when they say something, like, sit with them for a bit, listen to what they're going to say, because I didn't know that's what it was. I didn't know it was postnatal depression, and prenatal. I had it a little bit with my fourth baby. It was in, prenatal depression as well, and it was hard because it was like in and out. I wouldn't always be low, but I just had this mentality of, you got to just fix it. You just got to do it. You got to get on with it. And I see a lot of women who would wallow and be woe is me and really just embrace the suckiness of those moments. And I wouldn't. I would just get up and just keep going. That the children need me, that I need to get up and I need to cook, they need to eat, and my husband needs me and I need to listen to what he has to say, I need to stay awake, I need to so I would constantly be in this place where I wasn't necessarily happy, but I was always like, I can't stay here, I can't stay in this place of sadness and darkness. And I'm telling you, in 2019 it was the worst. I literally felt like dark clouds over me, and I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. I didn't want anything. I didn't want anyone to touch me. I didn't want anyone to talk to me, really. I didn't want a baby shower. Everyone's like, I don't want a baby shower. I don't want anything. I don't want it. I just was in such a miserable place. And it wasn't until after that one of my aunts was like, oh, when I had the fifth baby, she's like, oh, you're really nice with this one. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, oh, Nick, you were so miserable. I was like, was I that bad? I didn't realize it, like, everyone could just see it. Anyway, so the game-changing moment for me, because I became a mum at 25, was really, really quickly. Not really, really quick. Yeah, really, really quickly in terms of like, me and my husband getting married, having a baby. Like, it was quick, fast, right? And so we didn't really get much time to like be marital couple that just going out for your ice cream and your cake and your dinner and your last minute holidays and you want to go. We didn't have that opportunity. It was just like boom, like everything happened one time, right? And so I think dealing with that kind of was a bit of a shock to the system. Dealing with how to figure out how family dynamics work and all that kind of stuff, that was another shock to the system. And so for a while I was up and down trying to figure out who I was and what I was doing and what everything meant in motherhood and marriage and all that kind of stuff. And for 5 years I only had one daughter. We had one together and my husband has one before, so we had two, and we thought, okay, that's just going to be it. And then 5 years later we have another one. I was like, oh, okay, wonderful, that's just going to be our three then. And then 2 years later we have another one, and then 2 years later we have another one, and then 2 years later, and it's just literally been like every 2 years since. And within that, my mind was just all over the place. Like, I want to do this, I want to be here, I want to do that, but the guilt and the fear of like, if I go out to work, who's going to be looking after them, and they're going to need me, and my husband, he needs me for this and that, and you know, am I going to be able to do all of the things, like everything? I just was like, I'm not doing anything. But I wasn't doing anything. Like, I wasn't doing motherhood well, and I wasn't doing careerhood. I wasn't trying to pursue education. I wasn't trying to pursue anything very well, like to a high standard of excellence or high quality. And so when it all came crashing down in 2019 during pregnancy of the baby number 4, I realized the thing that happened was, I remembered my daughter. I can't remember if she said it while I was pregnant with that one, but she said it, that she said to me when she was younger, she said, I want to be like you, I want to be a mum. And it freaked me out at the time, I'm not gonna lie. Absolutely freaked me out. Why would she want to be a mum? Like, she's only little. What does she know about being a mum and all that kind of stuff? And then a cousin spoke to me, or auntie, and she said, no, she sees what you're doing and she loves what you're doing. Like, she admires you and she wants to be like you. And that came into my mind. And so at the time when I'm feeling the lowest, that came into my mind. And I'm like, wow, this child is going to grow up. That's what she said she wanted to do. I don't remember if she said it again. I don't remember if she said it since. But she said at that time, and that thought came back to my mind. And I thought, man, if she wants to be like me, if she's going to emulate me or imitate me, at this point of what I'm showing her, it's not good enough. It's not going to run. She's either going to make one of two decisions. She's either going to do exactly what I'm doing and be very, very unhappy, or number two, she's going to want nothing to do with me. She's going to want nothing to do with me. She's going to grow up. She's going to be like, do you know what? I've had enough of this kind of stuff. I'm leaving home. I don't even want to talk to you. I want nothing to do with you. That was a game-changing moment for me. I didn't even notice it at the time. It wasn't until reflection. But I was like, if she's going to copy me, what's she going to do? And imagine at that time how I'm actually feeling. I'm thinking, in how many years' time she will repeat this cycle. I can't have that. I can't have my daughter feeling less than. I can't have her questioning who she is. I can't have her questioning the God that I say that I serve, that I've been teaching them about all these years, that we sit down and we sit around the table and we pray and we do devotions and we always quoting these scriptures and, we're doing. I can't have her seeing that and then being like, well, mum was just a liar. She was a hypocrite. Game-changing moment, I'm telling you. I literally was like, I'm fed up. Fed up with this, Lord. I am absolutely fed up. I have had enough. Like, when you get to that point where enough is enough. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. Where you're like, this ain't happening anymore. I'm not eating that thing anymore. I ain't wearing that thing anymore. I'm not going to that place anymore. I'm not speaking to that person. Whatever it is. Enough is enough. And I got to that place. Like, I don't know, the straw that breaks the camel's back, or I don't know, whatever it is, I got there. And I was just like, no more. But I didn't know what to do any differently. And this is where it's so important. Like God, like insert God, like with his cape and his crown and his everything. Yeah, sorry, not his cape. He doesn't have a cape. He has a train. Yeah, he has a train, and that has a whole explanation within itself. The train. Anyway, shall I do it? Shall I quickly give it? Right. So when I was learning about the train, right, that kings would wear. So they would have they would wear that capey thing, and every place that they took over, every place they dominated, every place that they totally annihilated, they would take the cape thing of that king and attach it to their own. So with so it would obviously be, if you took over 10 kingdoms, you would have 10 trains, and you would walk and you would show everybody, I've taken over these kingdoms, just by walking into with your train on. So when you hear that, like, King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and he has won all of the things, right? So what's his train gonna be like? What is his train gonna be like? What's that? Anyway, side note, so that got me really excited when I learned that. So he's the King of Kings, Lord of Lords. Like, he won all the battles and everything. So his train's gonna be super, super long, right? Basically. So I got very frustrated, and I said to King, you're gonna have to do something. Lord, you're gonna have to do something, because I don't know what to do. And if you're this covenant keeping God, you're this amazing God that all these people speak about, and then they pray, and you answer all their prayers, you're gonna have to do something for me. And he took me through this process, right? So this is why I say insert. And he taught me my signature method that I now have, the A4 method. But I didn't know that's what it was at the time, right? It's only as I've gone through all of the steps and all this kind of stuff, and I've learned that, wow, that's what you were doing all that time. Like, you gave me that. Anyway, it's his method. It's not mine. But it is what it is, right? So I'm just gonna walk you through the steps that he took me through at that time, like 2019 ish, real quickly. So people ask me how I went from super bummed to super mum, and these are the 5 steps that he took me through, that are encapsulated in the A4 method, right? The first one was to show up. So I had to make a decision to show up differently, show up for myself, show up for my family, show up for my husband, like, but mostly for myself. I had to learn to show up for me. Like, God called me to do something, to be something. Like, I didn't know who I was, what I liked, any of the things. Like, I'm telling you, lost, totally lost in the source of wifehood, motherhood, all of the things. But I had to decide to show up for myself, not just because I've been showing up for years for everybody else. It's time to show up for me now. So I had to make that decision. I had to make the decision to become the next best, the best version, whatever the next best version, the next iteration of myself. Like, who was that? I didn't even know who she was at the time, but I had to make a decision that I'm going to show up for her, because I wanted her to be able to say thank you, Nick, for showing up, thank you for doing something different. Like, when you visualize and you start to think about, like, if that person could come and speak to me now, what would she say, what would she be? I had to decide to show up, basically, and differently. I couldn't keep showing up the way I was. Something had to change, right? The second thing was, I had to unpack what was there, what was going on, who was around, what was going into my mind, what were my beliefs and my values, all of those things. Like, where did they come from? Are they true? I had to challenge these things all the time. I didn't realize, this is one of the things that I have realized in working with mums. We don't even realize that we have limiting beliefs. Why? Because we're just used to them. It's part of our programming. And it's not until we are made aware of other options or another way of thinking that we're like, oh, swear, limiting belief. I didn't know that was a limiting belief. I didn't know that was holding me back. I didn't know that was stopping me from progressing and reaching levels of success that I should be. So I had to figure out what was working. So when I was unpacking, what was working, what wasn't working, what rituals am I doing, what schedule, what kind of rituals do I need to put in place, what routines do I need? And I had to be honest with myself. Sometimes we could be like, nah, it's all right, it's all good. We're very easy at just dusting it off and not dealing with it, putting it under the carpet. Somebody else will deal with it later on. If you don't deal with it now, it's going to be continued in your generations, it down the line in your legacy. So if you don't deal with it, mummy, your children will. And if they don't deal with it, then their children will. And the Bible speaks, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. What inheritance are you leaving for them? What inheritance are you leaving for them? We want a good man, a righteous man leaves an inheritance, like, but we want to leave a good inheritance for them. And it's not even just for our children. We're thinking long term, we're thinking longevity, we're thinking legacy, way down the line. That's what we're thinking, right? So here I did a lot of journaling, and praise God for the journaling. Listen, I advocate journaling all the time. Do the journaling. 1 line, 5 lines, a whole book, whatever it is, but journal, because your brain, even though it's all stored in there, it's hard to recollect things sometimes, and your brain does this thing sometimes. It compartmentalizes things, especially if it's like traumatic or whatever. It doesn't want to deal with it. I don't remember. But some of the things that you did at the time, some of the words, the experiences, the emotions that you had, the people that were around you, it's so good to have that written down so that you can go back and be like, wow, You can thank God for things. You can go back and thank people for certain things, especially when you're in the moment and you can't feel it, you don't see it. And you write it down, you go back and you look over, you're like, wow, that person really did care about me, you know, they really did. They tried. They knocked that door, they shared that food, they made that call, they sent text messages, and you'd be writing down, this person is so annoying, they keep messaging me. But when you're in a better place, you can go back and you can see the love and the care that people were showing you. Also the bad mind stuff that people were showing you as well. But anyway, so the first one is showing up for myself. The second one was to unpack what was going on and being honest about it. The third one was to prepare. So preparing was figuring out that there's a gap. We know that there's a gap between the place that you are currently and the place that you want to be. So I didn't want to be where I wanted to be, and I didn't even necessarily know where I wanted to be, but I knew I didn't want to be where I was. And so I had to then start to prepare and see what the gap was. I had to research, where did I actually want to be? Where did I want to be? Like physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, where did I want to be? And that was hard work. But thank God that I had guidance. I had coaches and praying people that were, I didn't even know were praying for me at the time, but praying for me, right? It's so important to have a supportive community, right? So I had to figure out where the gap was, where I was and where I wanted to be. And then I had to get myself together, basically, and prepare myself to make that journey, to start that journey. Like from here to here, it might look very small, but it can be treacherous. Especially if you don't know where you're going. If you look on a map, they do maps now. They I don't even know if yes, they still do maps. But even if you look on a Google map, you're like, oh, it's just this. But then when you actually have to drive it and you realize it's like some country lane and it's all the way and you got to do all of this, oh, it's not very far. It is far, it's long, and it can be hard and treacherous if you don't know the route. And so I had to prepare my plan, and I had to get outside help. I had to figure out these things, like, what did I need? I needed a coach. I really wanted a cleaner, and I really wanted a cook, but we weren't at that place where we could do that yet. But I had supportive people around me who would bring food. I'm telling you, even when I didn't ask, God would send packages of food, and I was like, oh, Lord, you really love me. You really love me. And I had to, after that as well, part of that is I had to release my old ways. I had to release this idea that I had to do it all by myself. I had to release myself from what everybody else was saying, so I could just become exactly who he was calling me to be. I upset some people. I'm still upsetting some people today. It's not my business. I'm just being who God's called me to be. And if that upsets you or if it agitates you, then there's some work that needs to be done. And I'm not going out here saying, like, just say what you want and do what you want. Definitely not. But in shining my light in the way that I am, I aggravate people and I agitate people. Like, how do you do it? Like, no, you just make it seem so listen, it's not an easy thing if you're doing it by yourself. But when you start to rely on the Most High, totally different thing, right? So I had to get outside help. What did I need? You had to figure out what I needed. That was it. Sorry. So number 1 was show up. Number 2 was unpack. Number 3 was prepare to make the steps. Number 4 was to actually execute, right? And so then I had to implement the things that I was learning. This is a step that we don't always take. We acquire lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of knowledge, but taking the steps is what is actually, that's the muscle work. That's the actual thing that makes the difference. So we can hear all the things, like you can hear all of these steps and be like, I know what to do. But theory and practical, two totally different things, right? In theory, you know what to do, but have you walked it out yet? If you haven't walked it out yet, you don't know what to do, okay? So I had to implement what I was learning, and I had to implement the good things like immediately, like how to create new thought patterns and routines and habits, and curb my talk. I had to figure out how to do that, and I didn't try to do it like, oh, it's okay, I will just do that. And no, I was like, I want to do it all now, but which was a bad thing because you can get overwhelmed that way. But as much as I could, I started to do it. As soon as I heard, I tried to do it immediately. Um, and what I found was that the earlier you start is the quicker you get wins. So it's not about you learning, just keep on learning. Like, don't, if you think it's reading a book or or accessing some kind of course or getting some kind of coaching, don't wait until you finish the whole book or the whole program or whatever. You hear something, implement it immediately, because you get wins so much quicker. Even if you implement it and you're like, oh, this didn't really work, you're able to tweak it and it becomes a win a lot quicker than if you're like, oh, let me perfect it, let me just read the whole book first and then start to forget it. You're delaying the inevitable, and you probably won't even start. You don't even know. You might just delay the starting because you haven't got to the end. You're like, oh, well, there's no point in me starting because I don't know how this ends. You don't know how it ends because you haven't started. Okay. So one of my things was I had to learn how to implement habits gradually as well. As I was saying, you don't want to overwhelm. Um, and I had to figure out what my why was, which pushes you when you feel like, I don't want to do this anymore, I can't bother, I might as well just go back. Like when you're feeling uncomfortable and you want to go back to the comfort zone, your why is the thing that's like, no, like stop sign, red light flags, all that kind of remember this, remember the reason why you're doing this. It's not because you want to be comfortable, it's because you want the change, you want this thing more than where you currently are. So you're willing to do the work, right? You're willing to do the work, mummy. So when you create your whys, this when you create your whys, make sure they're good ones. Make sure that they are like good enough for you to stand on, and not just like lean on, but like a little bit of a rest. Like you can fully put your weight on them. Your children, your mental health, your physical health, the legacy, the things that are ahead of you, God's word, those kind of things. Make them good, wise. And then the last thing was renewing. I had to learn to renew my mind, and that was probably the hardest thing to learn. Mindset shifts aren't always easy to adopt because of the programming that we've had for so long. The shift can take a while. A shift can take 2 minutes. A shift can take 2 years. A shift could take 20 years for you to, you can hear the same information over and over again until it actually settles in your brain and starts and makes the change that you need to actually make. So I had to make the shift. I had to transform myself. Well, I didn't transform myself, but I had to allow God to do a lot of transformational work in me, to release the old things, release the old ways, and actually raise my expectations. Can you be, my expectations were high in some areas, but for myself were very low. Very high expectations for my family, very high expectations for my husband, high expectations for my children, the way that we would look, and all that kind of stuff. But for myself, so I even had to raise my expectations of what I expected for myself. And those were the five things that he took me through. That I'm now able to, when I look back on my journaling, I'm able to see that those are the phases that he took me through, and I've been able to put it together in this nice container called the AAAA 4A's method, the A4 method, right? That he's given me. And we go through this in the boot camp. We're going to go through a little bit in my 5-day challenge, which we start today. We started the 5-day challenge today. And so we're going to be going through some of these steps to help bring the clarity that we need to keep us moving forward, to get us to that level of confidence. I'm telling you, when I went through all of these things, all of these phases, I realized that, I didn't realize at the time that God was bringing me through this thing so that I could help other people, to other mummies, to get to the level where he actually wants them. It's not a level that I want them. It's not a level that they necessarily want for themselves, but it's a level that he wants. Why? Because we have massive impact. We are they say we are the hands that rock the cradle. we literally create the next generation, and we give our we give this job, this assignment over to other people all the time because we don't feel confident in our role. Like we can rock going and giving presentations. Like I can rock a presentation, I can rock a sermon, like I can rock. I can't sing like some people. My sister, she can sing, but I can't sing like her. But some people, they will sing that song, they will rock that song, they could play that instrument, they can paint that picture, whatever it is, they can rock that thing. But when it comes to motherhood, they be shaking in their boots, they be questioning themselves, like, Lord, am I really cut out for this? Yes, you are. Why? Because he gave you this assignment. He doesn't do things by accident. No matter what you think, oh, I wasn't planning for this. Well, he was planning for it, because every person that is here on this earth is here for a specific purpose and reason. You are here for a specific reason, and those children are here for a specific reason. And when you understand that, you will be able to you will be able to confidently raise those babies and do your motherhood in your own unique way. There's no carbon copy of anybody else. You are who you are because that's how God created you. There are some little things that we need to tweak and we need to change and stuff to become more like him. Yes, but your character, the things that he's given you, he's given each of us a little bit of himself. A little bit of himself. So he has all of the creativity and all of these different attributes, and he's given each of us like a little mixture of him. So none of us are the same. He lacks variety. Variety is the spice of life, they say, right? And so he purposely gave you to this world. Then he purposely gave you those children to mother, to look after, to nurture, to bring up. And even if they rub you up the wrong way, trust me, they are working something into you or out of you. And it's that two-way street. You're both doing it. You're working something into them and something out of them, and they're working something into you and out of you. Don't get it twisted and think, oh, this motherhood thing is not, I'm not cut out for it. Yes, you are. One of the reasons why you find it so hard is because you're looking at everybody else. You're looking at how everybody else is doing motherhood. And that doesn't work, because there are no two families that are the same. You're not the same as anybody. Even your eyes ain't the same as anybody else's eyes, and your fingers aren't the same as anybody else's fingertips. And in this book, right, this book right here, right, it speaks about your fingerprints being a spiritual thing, like your own unique print on the world, like, and so nobody else will be like you. Nobody else can be like you. You can be similar, but it's a spiritual thing, like your own fingerprints. You are a unique thing here on this earth. So don't try and be like anybody else. Your motherhood experience is not going to be like anybody else's. Your children are not like anybody else's children. Your home is not going to run like anybody else's home. You can take little bits and pieces, but there's no carbon copy. You can't take somebody else's timetable and routine and try and stick it into yours. It doesn't work. And that's what we talk about on the 5-day challenge. So what we're doing over these 5 days is we are going to start to create, build, and implement your own personal blueprint for career mum confidence and success. Your own personal one. I'm tired of this carbon copy. I'm tired of you cutting and pasting. I've tried it. It does not work. It just leads to more doubt, more overwhelm. Why can't I do it? She can do it. Why can't I do it? Listen, it doesn't work because it doesn't work. It wasn't meant to work. You can't just take everybody else's templates. Like, it doesn't work. Our children work differently. I keep saying it, they're a wild card. You can plan all you want for something to happen, and they will just do something totally different and change everything of the day. And what does that look like for your timetable? If you are not confident in yourself and in your abilities and in your family and your vision and stuff for the family, then you would just lose it. You would just be extremely triggered. You would feel the overwhelm, and you'll feel the pressure. I'm not sticking to the timetable, to the routine. I'm not, and we don't need that. But how do you get to that level of confidence? How do you get to that level of flow? That's what we are dealing with over these 5 days, okay? And day number 3 is the big one. It's the masterclass. So everybody needs to get there. It's like how to build that Godfidence, that God confidence in your abilities. How do you do that? And that's where I give more on like what that looks like, what that actually looks like, and how God did it for me, and so then how he can do it for you, because he's not a respecter of persons and I'm not an exception. You know, there are rules that he has. And so we just follow the rules, right? Just follow the rules. So we start today. If you want to get involved, leave a comment, leave an emoji or something under here, and I'll get it to you. Listen, I'm having problems with the link and all this kind of stuff. It doesn't matter, but I'm going to put the Facebook group under here so you can add yourself to the Facebook group. But I believe God's leading me to just do it on here. So we're going to be doing it live on here. So just join us back at 5 p.m. UK time, which is 12 US time, EST time, where we're going to be going for session 1, which is on clarity. So if you're interested, there's workbooks and all this kind of other stuff like to go along with it, tasks and stuff. So if you're interested, let me know so I can get that stuff over to you. Literally, I'm telling you, God is just doing some things. He's just moving and shifting things. The way I thought this was going to go, it's not going that way. So we're just going to go with the Holy Spirit, okay? So work with me as I work with the Spirit, okay? But that's all I wanted to share with you today. The game-changing moment, I was fed up. I couldn't anymore. Like, I couldn't do the same thing anymore. And then God showed up and started showing me all the things, started taking me through the process of transformation. And so I just want to share all of that knowledge with everybody, all of the mums, so that you can go from that zero to the hero. You can go from that super bummed to super mum. Like, people keep on saying to me, Nick, listen, I didn't do anything. I just was obedient. Just being obedient, okay? So anyway, so join me later in a couple of hours. Let's do this thing together. 5 p.m. UK time, 12 p.m. EST. Let's go and we're going to cover clarity. And there'll be a little something else after. All right, so join us live at 5. Okay, speak to you later. Have an amazing day. Really looking forward to serving you all, actually. Okay, speak to you later. Bye.